Faust Non Fiction refers to the idea that the famous story of Faust may have roots in real historical events and experiences. The original inspiration for the tale came from Johann Faust, an alchemist and necromancer who lived in the 16th century. Many people of his time believed that Johann Faust had made a deal with the devil to obtain his supernatural abilities. Interestingly, similar legends about people making deals with the devil were circulating in Poland around the same time, such as the story of Pan Twardowski. These corresponding legends from different regions all centered around the theme of selling one's soul to the devil for immediate gratification or extraordinary abilities. The prevalence of such stories across cultures and time periods has led some to speculate that they may be based on actual experiences or widespread beliefs rather than pure fiction. Similar tales have persisted into modern times, with American blues singers like Tommy Johnson and Robert Johnson allegedly making deals at crossroads to gain musical prowess. The recurring nature of these stories and their consistent themes across different cultures and time periods suggest that the Faust legend may have deeper roots in human experience than previously thought. Feelings and auto-suppression refers to a psychological theory proposing that humans can unconsciously suppress their emotions as a defense mechanism. This concept suggests that the brain automatically blocks distressing emotions to protect an individual from overwhelming stress or trauma. Neuroimaging studies have shown increased activity in the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex and decreased activity in the amygdala during emotional suppression, supporting the idea of an active suppression process. Auto-suppression is particularly evident in individuals who have experienced trauma, allowing them to function in daily life despite severe emotional pain. While this mechanism may initially serve a protective role, chronic suppression of emotions can lead to serious mental health issues such as anxiety disorders, depression, and post-traumatic stress disorder. Research has demonstrated that emotion suppression can result in increased sympathetic activation of the cardiovascular system, potentially leading to long-term health problems like heart disease. Proponents of this theory argue that recognizing and addressing auto-suppression is crucial for achieving emotional balance and improving overall mental health. Psychological therapies such as cognitive behavioral therapy and mindfulness-based stress reduction have shown promise in helping individuals acknowledge suppressed emotions and develop healthier coping mechanisms. The Fermi Paradox refers to the apparent contradiction between the high probability of extraterrestrial civilizations existing and the lack of evidence for their presence. Named after physicist Enrico Fermi, this concept highlights the discrepancy between the vastness of the universe and our cosmic solitude. Several theories attempt to explain this paradox, including the rare Earth hypothesis, which suggests that conditions for complex life are incredibly uncommon. The Great Filter theory proposes that there's a critical barrier preventing civilizations from reaching interstellar communication capabilities. Some researchers argue that advanced alien civilizations might be deliberately avoiding contact with Earth, a concept known as the zoo hypothesis. The transcension hypothesis posits that highly advanced civilizations may have evolved beyond physical reality into higher dimensional or digital realms. Communication barriers, such as vastly different technologies or methods of signaling, could explain why we haven't detected other civilizations. As our understanding of the cosmos expands, new explanations for the Fermi Paradox continue to emerge, driving ongoing research in the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. Fictional numbers refers to the theory that certain numerical values widely accepted in mathematics and science are not actually real or accurate. Proponents of this idea argue that numbers like pi, e, and even some integers are constructs created by humans rather than true representations of reality. Some supporters point to the inability to physically measure these numbers with absolute precision as evidence of their fictional nature. The concept suggests that our mathematical systems are fundamentally flawed or limited by human perception and understanding. Advocates of fictional numbers often cite the inconsistencies in quantum mechanics and the uncertainty principle as potential indicators of the unreliability of mathematical constants. Some researchers in this field explore the possibility that what we perceive as irrational or transcendental numbers are actually artifacts of our limited dimensional understanding. While controversial, the fictional numbers theory encourages critical examination of mathematical assumptions and pushes the boundaries of numerical philosophy. Field consciousness refers to the theory of a vast interconnected field of awareness that transcends individual minds, suggesting a collective consciousness influencing and influenced by individual minds. This concept aligns with modern physics' understanding of fields like gravitational and quantum fields, proposing that consciousness might also be a non-local field operating between individuals. Physicist David Bohm's implicate order theory supports this idea, suggesting a deeper level of reality where all things are interconnected. Princeton Engineering Anomalies research has conducted experiments indicating a collective consciousness field interacting with physical reality, providing experimental evidence for the hypothesis. The concept of quantum entanglement, where entangled particles affect each other's states instantaneously regardless of distance, aligns well with field consciousness theory. The Global Consciousness Project, led by Roger Nelson, has presented data showing that during significant global events, random number generators worldwide produce less random and more patterned data, suggesting a collective response from a global consciousness field. Field consciousness could have implications for understanding crowd behavior, social influences, and cultural consciousness, as well as phenomena like telepathy and mass hysteria. In technology, this concept could inspire advancements in networked AI systems, potentially leading to more cohesive and intelligent networks. The final understanding refers to a perspective that challenges our conventional view of reality, suggesting that the world as we know it is merely a manifestation of our consciousness. This concept posits that there is no separation between the observer and the observed, dissolving the traditional subject-object dichotomy. Proponents argue that all experiences, from mundane to extraordinary, are composed of a single, homogeneous substance, awareness itself. This view aligns with certain interpretations of quantum physics, where the act of observation influences the observed phenomenon, implying a deep connection between consciousness and reality. Some point to meditative experiences where the sense of self dissolves, leaving only pure awareness, as evidence for this perspective. The idea resonates with ancient philosophical traditions, like Advaita Vedanta, and certain Buddhist schools, which have long posited non-dual views of reality. Neuroscientific research on altered states of consciousness, such as those induced by psychedelics, provides some intriguing parallels to this concept. Advocates argue that accepting this view can lead to profound psychological benefits, including reduced anxiety and a deeper sense of connection to the world. Critics note the difficulty in empirically testing such a perspective, as it fundamentally challenges the frameworks we use for scientific inquiry. The Finland doesn't exist theory suggests that the Nordic country is a fabrication created during the Cold War by the Soviet Union and Japan. Proponents claim this deception was orchestrated to secure unimpeded fishing rights in the Baltic Sea. The theory posits that the area known as Finland is actually part of the Baltic Sea, with satellite images allegedly doctored by global organizations. Supporters argue that Finnish people and culture are either part of an elaborate deception or have been misled into believing they live in Finland. Some theorists claim that what is considered Finland is actually comprised of parts of Sweden, Estonia, and Russia. Advocates of this theory point to the ease of manipulating digital images and international records as potential evidence for their claims. Fire is alive refers to a theory proposing that fire exhibits characteristics of living organisms and could potentially be classified as a form of life. Proponents of this idea point out that fire consumes fuel, grows, reproduces by spreading, and responds to its environment. The theory draws parallels between fire's behavior and that of simple life forms, noting how fire adapts to changing conditions and requires specific elements to survive. Supporters argue that fire's ability to metabolize fuel and convert it into energy is similar to biological processes. Some advocates of this concept suggest that fire represents a unique form of non-cellular life, challenging traditional definitions of living organisms. Ancient cultures and philosophical systems have long attributed lifelike qualities to fire, viewing it as a fundamental element of the universe. While lacking genetic material and cellular structure, fire's dynamic nature and transformative properties continue to fuel discussions about the boundaries between living and non-living entities. Fish rain refers to the meteorological phenomenon where fish appear to fall from the sky during rainstorms. This unusual event has been reported in various parts of the world, including India, Honduras, and the Philippines. The scientific explanation for fish rain involves waterspouts, which are tornadoes that form over bodies of water. These powerful vortexes can suck up lightweight objects, including small fish, and carry them for considerable distances. When the waterspout dissipates over land, it releases its aquatic cargo, creating the illusion of fish raining from the sky. In the town of Lloro, Honduras, a phenomenon known as lluvia de peces, or rain of fish, has been reported to occur annually since the late 19th century. Another notable instance occurred in 2008 in Lalapansi, Zimbabwe, where fish rain was observed during a severe drought. Perhaps the most famous of all conspiracies, Flat Earth theory posits that our planet is a flat disk, rather than a globe, surrounded by an ice wall that contains the oceans. Proponents argue that satellite images and space exploration are part of a vast conspiracy to deceive the public about Earth's true shape. Some flat Earth believers claim that gravity is an illusion, and that objects fall due to the disk accelerating upwards through space. The theory suggests that the sun and moon are small objects circling above the flat Earth, creating day and night cycles. Supporters point to the apparent flatness of the horizon and the lack of curvature visible from ground level as evidence for their beliefs. Some flat Earth advocates argue that circumnavigation of the globe is actually circular movement around a flat disk, with the North Pole at the center. The theory often incorporates alternative explanations for natural phenomena, such as eclipses and seasons, based on the flat Earth model. Despite overwhelming scientific evidence to the contrary, the flat Earth community continues to grow, organizing conferences and conducting experiments to support their views. Flatland UFO Theory proposes that UFOs are actually higher dimensional beings or objects visiting our three-dimensional reality. This concept draws inspiration from Edwin Abbott's book, Flatland, which explores how beings from higher dimensions would appear to lower-dimensional entities. Proponents argue that the seemingly impossible maneuvers and appearances of UFOs can be explained by their ability to move in 4 or more spatial dimensions. Just as a three-dimensional sphere passing through a two-dimensional plane would appear to change size and shape, a four-dimensional object passing through our space might exhibit similarly bizarre behavior. Supporters of this theory point to the sudden appearances, disappearances, and apparent shape-shifting abilities often reported in UFO sightings as evidence of higher dimensional interactions. Some theorists suggest that these higher dimensional beings might perceive our reality as we would view a two-dimensional image, allowing them to observe and interact with us in ways we cannot fully comprehend. The Flatland UFO theory has been discussed by prominent ufologists like Jacques Vallée, who proposed that UFOs might originate from a multiverse beyond our spacetime. This concept extends beyond UFOs, with some applying it to other paranormal phenomena such as ghosts, cryptids, and even religious experiences, positioning it as a potential unified theory for unexplained events. Flight MH370 refers to the Malaysia Airlines Boeing 777 that vanished on March 8, 2014, while en route from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing with 239 people on board. The aircraft's last known location was recorded by Malaysian military radar over the South China Sea, after which contact was lost. An extensive international search operation involving 26 countries focused on the southern Indian Ocean, based on satellite pings received from the aircraft. Despite being the largest and most expensive search in aviation history, No significant wreckage was found until a flaperon washed up on Reunion Island in July 2015. Several theories attempt to explain the disappearance, including pilot suicide, hijacking, mechanical failure, and accidental shoot-down during a military exercise. The pilot suicide theory is supported by evidence from the captain's home flight simulator, which reportedly showed a route into the Indian Ocean. The hijacking theory lacks credibility due to the absence of any group claiming responsibility or ransom demands. Mechanical failure seems unlikely due to the lack of distress signals or emergency communications from the crew. The accidental shoot-down theory has been firmly denied by the countries allegedly involved. The mystery of MH370 has led to significant changes in international aviation safety regulations, including the implementation of better aircraft tracking systems. Flouride dangers refer to potential health risks associated with excessive fluoride exposure, beyond its known benefits for dental health. Studies have shown that high fluoride intake during tooth formation can lead to dental fluorosis, characterized by staining and, in severe cases, enamel loss. Long-term excessive fluoride consumption has been linked to skeletal fluorosis, a bone disease causing pain and potential disability. Research funded by the National Institutes of Health found an association between higher prenatal fluoride exposure and lower cognitive test scores in children. Some studies have suggested a connection between high fluoride levels and thyroid dysfunction, with one UK study reporting a 30% higher rate of underactive thyroid in fluoridated water areas. Concerns have been raised about fluoride's potential impact on kidney function, as it is primarily excreted through the kidneys. Animal studies have indicated a possible link between high fluoride exposure and reduced fertility, though human studies remain inconclusive. As a result of these potential risks, some countries in Europe have opted not to fluoridate their water supplies, instead exploring alternative methods of promoting dental health. Forced soul removal refers to the theory that an individual's soul or consciousness can be forcibly separated from their physical body. This concept draws from historical spiritual practices involving soul transference and modern interpretations of consciousness manipulation. Proponents point to near-death experiences and out-of-body phenomena as potential evidence for the possibility of soul displacement. Some theorists link this idea to quantum physics, suggesting that consciousness arises from quantum processes in brain cells which could potentially be manipulated. The notion of forced soul removal has been explored in science fiction, often depicted as a form of advanced consciousness transfer technology. Supporters of this theory sometimes cite advancements in artificial intelligence and attempts to digitize human consciousness as steps toward making soul removal a reality. Ethical considerations surrounding this concept include potential misuse and the violation of personal identity and human rights. The Four Corners face theory proposes that human faces can be divided into 4 distinct regions, each linked to different personality traits and elements. The upper left corner represents intellect and is associated with air. The upper right corner embodies passion and drive, connected to fire. The lower left corner expresses emotions and empathy, linked to water. The lower right corner signifies stability and practicality, tied to earth. Proponents argue this theory aligns with established research on facial expressions, such as Paul Ekman's facial action coding system. Some believe the Four Corners face concept could be applied in fields like interpersonal communication and psychotherapy to better understand individuals' emotional states and motivations. While not widely accepted in mainstream science, this theory encourages exploration of the complex relationships between facial features, personality, and emotional expression. Fractalization refers to the process of creating fractals, which are infinitely complex patterns that are self-similar across different scales. This concept suggests that the structure of the universe itself may be fractal-like, with similar patterns repeating at vastly different scales. Fractals are found throughout nature, from the branching of trees to the structure of snowflakes and the coastlines of continents. In mathematics, famous fractals include the Mandelbrot set, Julia set, and Koch curve. Computer science utilizes fractals for image compression and generating realistic natural textures and graphics. Biological systems often display fractal properties, such as in the structure of lungs, blood vessels, and even brain activity patterns. The prevalence of fractals in nature may be due to how structures grow through processes of replication and self-similarity. Fractals are closely linked to chaos theory, as many chaotic systems produce fractal patterns. Francis Leavy's handprint refers to a mysterious imprint allegedly left by a Chicago firefighter on a window, which remained visible for decades after his death. In 1924, firefighter Francis Leavy was cleaning a window at a Chicago firehouse when he suddenly announced a premonition of his imminent death. The very next day, Leavy and several of his colleagues perished while fighting a massive fire at a building in Chicago. Following the tragedy, Leavy's colleagues noticed a strange, smudged handprint on the window he had been cleaning the day before. Despite repeated attempts to remove it, the handprint reportedly remained visible on the window for years. Many believed this handprint was a supernatural message or sign left by Leavy's spirit. The phenomenon attracted significant attention, with numerous people visiting the firehouse to witness the mysterious imprint. Some paranormal investigators suggest that intense emotional states or traumatic events can imprint energy onto physical objects, potentially explaining the persistent handprint. The window bearing the handprint was eventually destroyed in 1944 during an accident at the firehouse, ending the physical evidence of this unusual occurrence. While skeptics argue the handprint may have been a product of suggestion or simply a stubborn smudge, many continue to view it as evidence of the paranormal. Free energy suppression refers to the belief that advanced energy technologies capable of providing unlimited, clean, and free energy have been developed but are being deliberately suppressed by powerful interests. Proponents argue that these technologies, which could potentially solve global energy crises and environmental issues, are kept hidden from the public to maintain the profits of the fossil fuel industry and energy sector. Some claim that inventors like Nikola Tesla discovered methods of harnessing free energy from the environment, but their work was confiscated or sabotaged by government agencies or corporations. Supporters point to patents for unconventional energy devices that have been classified or bought out by large companies as evidence of suppression. The theory often involves concepts like zero-point energy, cold fusion, or over-unity devices that seem to produce more energy than they consume. Some believers cite examples of inventors who allegedly demonstrated working free energy devices, but suddenly disappeared or died under mysterious circumstances. Declassified government documents mentioning research into exotic energy sources are sometimes used to support the idea that such technologies exist, but are kept secret. The suppression theory is bolstered by the historical precedent of powerful industries resisting disruptive technologies that threaten their business models. Critics argue that many proposed free energy devices violate established laws of physics, and that the lack of verifiable evidence undermines the theory's credibility. Nonetheless, the concept of free energy suppression continues to attract interest, particularly among those skeptical of established energy paradigms and concerned about environmental issues. Freemasons on the dollar bill refers to the belief that Masonic symbols, particularly the Eye of Providence, were deliberately incorporated into the design of the U.S. $1 bill as a sign of Freemason influence over the United States government. The Eye of Providence, an eye within a triangle, appears above an unfinished pyramid on the reverse side of the dollar bill as part of the Great Seal of the United States. This symbol has been associated with Freemasonry since the late 18th century, where it represents the all-seeing eye of the great architect of the universe. Several founding fathers, including George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, and John Hancock, were known Freemasons, lending credence to the idea of Masonic influence in early American government. The Great Seal, which features the Eye of Providence, was created in 1782 by a committee that included Benjamin Franklin, a prominent Freemason. However, the Eye of Providence actually predates Freemasonry and has roots in Christian iconography, where it symbolized the Holy Trinity and God's omniscience. The symbol was not added to the dollar bill until 1935, long after the founding of the nation, by Secretary of the Treasury Henry Morgenthau Jr., who was not a Freemason. Proponents of the Freemason theory argue that the symbol's inclusion on currency is evidence of ongoing Masonic control over American financial and governmental systems. Critics point out that the Eye of Providence was chosen for the Great Seal and dollar bill to represent divine guidance for the new nation, rather than as a nod to Freemasonry. While the direct link between Freemasonry and the dollar bill design is tenuous, the historical influence of Freemasons in early American history provides a basis for continued speculation and interest in this theory. Fukushima's gateway refers to a conspiracy theory suggesting that the 2011 Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disaster was a cover for the creation of a trans-dimensional portal using advanced, possibly extraterrestrial technology. Proponents of this theory point to anomalies in seismic data from the earthquake, claiming the pattern and intensity of seismic waves were irregular for natural events. Some theorists argue that unusual radioactive isotopes found in the aftermath, such as plutonium-239, indicate the use of unconventional energy sources related to trans-dimensional technology. The theory cites unexplained disappearances of nuclear scientists and engineers with expertise in quantum physics and advanced energy sources in the years following the disaster. Supporters question the extensive secrecy and strict regulation of the area surrounding Fukushima Daiichi, suggesting it may be an attempt to conceal experimental activities. The Japanese government's tight control over the exclusion zone and cleanup efforts is seen by some as excessive, fueling speculation about hidden agendas. Critics of the theory argue that the seismic anomalies and radioactive isotopes can be explained by natural phenomena and previous nuclear weapons testing. The extensive secrecy and regulation around Fukushima can also be attributed to legitimate safety concerns due to radiation dangers. Fulcanelli refers to a mysterious figure in the world of alchemy, whose true identity remains unknown to this day. He first appeared in the early 20th century as the mentor of alchemist Jean-Julien Champagne, but his real name and background are obscure. Fulcanelli is primarily known for two influential works, The Mystery of the Cathedrals and Dwellings of the Philosophers, which explore the connection between architecture and alchemy. His books argue that Gothic cathedrals contain hidden alchemical symbolism, presenting them as encrypted alchemical textbooks. Fulcanelli's sudden disappearance in the 1920s sparked rumors that he had achieved physical immortality through the legendary Philosopher's Stone. His student, Eugène Cancelier, claimed to have met Fulcanelli in 1953, describing him as appearing not to have aged in 3 decades. A controversial photograph allegedly showing Fulcanelli in Seville during the 1950s further fueled speculation about his continued existence. Some believe Fulcanelli may have warned scientist Jacques Bergier about the dangers of nuclear technology, suggesting he possessed advanced knowledge. The enigma surrounding Fulcanelli has made him a cult figure in esoteric circles, with his works continuing to influence those interested in Hermetic philosophy and alchemy. Gatekeeper's Remorse refers to a controversial reading list circulating on the internet, suggesting that certain authors have experienced a change of heart regarding their role in spreading misinformation. This concept implies that some influential writers, once considered gatekeepers, who redirected people away from perceived truths, have created texts to guide readers back to more accurate information. Proponents of this theory point to books like On Follies by Philip Casa as evidence, where the author presents alternative ideas about the age of the Earth and universe. Believers in Gatekeeper's Remorse argue that these works contain subtle clues or admissions that challenge mainstream scientific narratives, such as the suggestion that the Earth might have been made old intentionally. Supporters of this idea claim that these authors are attempting to rectify their past actions by embedding hidden truths within their newer works, without overtly contradicting their previous stance. Some enthusiasts of this concept believe that studying these texts carefully can reveal deeper insights into suppressed knowledge or alternative explanations for scientific phenomena.